MMA Boxing Talk here. Lots of news and things that have been happening in the women's featherweight division. I just want to put out a little update video. Of course, Randamie got stripped of her featherweight title. I'm glad that happened. She did not want to fight Cyborg. What did she expect? She was fighting Holly Holm for the featherweight title. She knew going into that fight that eventually she was going to have to fight Cyborg if she wins the title. I mean, that's just obvious. Anyone could have told her that. So I'm glad they stripped her. And it's not like she doesn't generate money. She doesn't have a whole big fan base. So that's what happens. Tyron Woodley, he had to fight Wonder Boy twice. He had to fight the number one contender. Unless you're Conor McGregor, maybe a Michael Bisping who had been in the company for so many years and generated so much money for the UFC. Maybe they'll give him a pass, but regardless, I'm glad the UFC did this. We're gonna get a great fight: Cyborg versus Megan Anderson for the featherweight title. So that's good news. Cyborg is a very heavy favorite in that fight. I don't think it's gonna be a very tough fight for Anderson. It just really will be. But I'm happy for Cyborg. Finally, she has an opportunity to get her UFC belt. She'll get paid like a champion, hopefully promoted more. But it's funny how we had to wait till Ronda Rousey was totally out of the picture for this to happen. Despite this isn't even Ronda Rousey's division. This is the division above. But that's how brutal the UFC was. They just wanted Ronda to be the only women's star. Fuck the rest. I mean, that's bullshit. Cyborg, this should have been... Oh, this should have happened a long time ago. But anyway, I'm glad for Cyborg. She's going to get her opportunity to become a champion. It's good news. But this card, UFC 214, it's not bad. It could have been a lot better. Of course, Doo-Ho Choi, he got injured, so he's not fighting Andre Fili. And Korean Zombie got injured, so he's not fighting Ricardo Lamas. But Ricardo Lamas is going to fight Jason Knight. That's a good fight. Sage Northcutt's on the card, so that's always interesting. Jimmy Manuwa is fighting Ozdemir. That'll be an interesting fight. Jimmy Manuwa, always opportunity to get that knockout. We have... What else? Who else is on the card? Aljamain Sterling versus Renan Barão. That's an interesting fight. Renan Barão's first fight back at 135. Aljamain Sterling, his last fight against... his second last fight against Rafael Assunção, he lost, but in my opinion, he won that fight clear enough to should have won at least a split decision, but it could have been a unanimous decision for Sterling, but he kind of got screwed. So this is a big fight for him, but I mean, to arguably have beaten Rafael Assunção, that's a good win. Sterling's starting to put it together, but he's still very raw. He's I don't know how far up the rankings he'll go, but he definitely has to get past Barão if he wants to, eventually be in the talks of a title shot or a top contender, And obviously we have Cyborg, Megan Anderson, John Jones, Daniel Cormier. Decent night of fights, definitely worth the $60 in my opinion. Obviously, John Jones Cormier alone is worth the $60. It's actually 70 with tax, but anyway. Just wanted to give my take on this. Let me know what you guys think. If you like the video, definitely subscribe. And check me out on Twitter at MMA Boxing Talk 1. Peace.